Monster, Monster Man, Monster, Monster Man, Jack and Hunter at it again. Monster, Monster Man, Monster, Monster Man.
Welcome to Monster Men.
You notice my background is different?
You're in the Blair Witch basement.
Oh yeah, I should get in the corner at one point. And my cats are like kind of wandering around and freaking me out every now and then because other than this light ring, it's very dark down here. So anyway, we have a very special guest today, and somebody who I thought you already knew, Jack, but you didn't. But you guys kind of know each other. It is the legend, the Jersey boy himself, who's written so many books that if we had to do like the crawl across the screen, the show would be over by the time we hit the last book that he did. It is the man himself, Armand Rosamilia.
Yay.
Yay. You guys are going to pipe in, like, when you edit this, you'll pipe in, like, a crowd noise and shit, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Totally.
I would never forget. I'd never forget to do that.
Yeah. The DC rioters. We'll just put that on.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm a first-time, long-time...
You know what's funny? I actually thought that we had you on like years ago. I'm like, we had to have had him on. I feel like I've talked to you on it, but no.
You've been on my podcast a couple times.
Yeah. Well, now
whenever
that
you want to promote something, you come on my podcast. When I want to promote something, you and Jack basically say go to hell. So
yeah, crickets.
No. You and I, we were talking about this before. We run in the same circles. We kind of know each other. We're friends on Facebook, but we've never actually talked to each other. So this is a long time coming.
Exactly.
And now you come on, what the hell you want? You want a 5-star review for me? Send me a book.
Jack's always looking for a book or chocolates like Laurel Hightower sends him.
Hey, nobody gets in the Hightower echelon.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
like a trained dog.
You're not getting chocolate from me.
You take one of those pops behind you, maybe.
I think we're up to over 400 now in the house.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Holy cow! And it's funny, you keep them in the box. Like as soon as I get home,
yeah.
I rip them out of the box.
Oh
I
my
set
God.
them up.
I've got a bunch of them, and I'm actually trying to stop because I just feel like I have too much crap. But pops are the hardest thing not to buy. I got like the Jaws ones. I got the Caddyshack ones. Then I was like, well, I better tone it down. And then Christmas came, and I got a bunch from other people. So,
like, we have themed rooms in our house. So, like, I have a baseball room with all the baseball MLB pops. And then my wife has a Wonder Woman room. So there's probably about 50 different Wonder Woman ones in there. She only collects, like, Linda Carter Wonder Woman stuff. So the whole room is Wonder Woman. And then she has a Disney room. So we have one wall now is all Disney pops.
wow.
And then, I mean, like, my office is just, there's a few behind me, and then we literally put in 2 bookshelves just for pops in here. So they're everywhere.
There are 50 variants of Linda Carter pops.
The Wonder Woman, they just came out, as we're recording, I think they just came out with like 6 more today.
Jesus.
So, I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, I have a wall of Marvel, because I'm not a DC fan, I'm a Marvel fan, but there's like 40 of them on my wall. But there's like, I could get like 500 more. I mean, they make so many of them. It's ridiculous.
You know the one I want to get, but I can't drop the $40 for it that I've seen it for, is the Grady twins from The Shining.
Yeah, I got that for my mother for Christmas.
Yeah.
Nobody got me any pops for Christmas this year. It was an epic fail on everyone's part.
I even sent I forget which one I sent Tim Meyer a pop, and his son Jack, I sent him a pop for Christmas.
Nice. You know what? I sent him a big beer glass, and it said, I don't know, it's the season for drinking beer or something like that. So I recently asked him, like, dude, did you ever get it? And he's like, oh, what was it? So I told him, he's like, oh yeah, Ash told me that like her aunt got me that. I'm like, no, I got you.
Great. His aunt taking credit for stuff.
Yeah, what the hell?
Speaking of Marvel, though, I got a Wolverine zombie pop from my nephew, and an extra big Thanos with the glove.
Yeah.
Do you smell the glove?
Yeah, they got the Spinal Tap smell the glove Funko.
Yeah, Armand, I was Marvel too. I was make mine Marvel growing up.
Mhm.
What's like one Marvel character that hasn't been made into a movie that you'd like to see?
All right, so here's I always say this, and some people get it. You'll probably get it if you're Marvel fan. Alpha Flight.
Oh, the Canadians.
Wow.
Yeah, that was my favorite. It still is my favorite superhero comic. Which
That had-
people are like, why? And I'm like, I just from issue one, I just loved it, and I have every issue. And anytime they add anything else, or
So
I just get it.
that was. Let me think if I can remember the lineup. There was Captain. No, it was like the guy with the maple leaf. It was like Captain America for Canada.
I used to think he was Mr. Syrup.
Johnny Syrup. You're right. Johnny Syrup is
Mr. Maple, Mr. Maple Leaf.
Mr. Maple Leaf.
Was there like a Wendigo kind of guy?
Wendigo.
Yeah.
And then was there a Puck, like a little guy?
Yep. Puck was the little guy. Yeah.
And I can't remember there was a woman or what was she like
Snowbird.
a bird?
There
Yes.
was yeah. And then we had Marina, which was the kind of the submariner chick. There was a bunch of different ones. I have a bunch of they never made a lot of the figurines and stuff, but I have a bunch of them on my wall.
You know,
And
that could be as good as Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh yeah.
Because if they can make that, because who the hell cared about Guardians of the Galaxy growing up?
When I heard it announced, I was like, "What's Guardians of the Galaxy?" And then I looked it up. I go, "Oh yeah, that Rocket Raccoon thing." Like
Yeah.
I hardly even knew about it.
Yeah.
But Alpha Flight, Wolverine was the Alpha Flight too, right?
Yeah. Original part of yep.
See, I would either choose, and these are just because I used to subscribe, so you'd get them, and it was weird. They seemed like so dirty. They came in brown paper thing. Like, oh, Dad got his jugs in brown paper. I got my Fantastic Four in paper. I loved Kazar,
Oh,
Yeah. That's a good
Marvel's
one.
answer to Tarzan, and Rom Space Knight.
Yeah, I had all the ROMs too. That was a good one.
I knew
always
about
thought-
Rom as the doll first, and then I saw that it was a comic book.
I always thought Rom looked like a drive-in movie theater speaker. There was something about him just kind of looked like that. So get on it, Disney. Make these. What about you, Jack?
There's one X-Man that I want to see if they ever have the balls to do. Do you remember Longshot?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, he was such a weird mutant. I was like, oh, what? But this Marvel, like the Marvel universe, is so good at casting. Then like they could take a fringe guy like that and turn him into like the funniest character. They kind of did it in Deadpool with the Domino or whatever. She had the luck power, so they kind of already did it. So maybe
Yeah. No, look, they'll all get in there. I can't wait till Devil Dinosaur becomes a Marvel
Son of
movie.
Satan.
Son of Satan.
Yeah, Son of Satan. That'd be a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I'm interested with Moonlight. When I heard Moon Knight, I was like, all right, now we're getting into some really good minor characters finally.
Yeah. Well, Moon Knight was like, he's Batman, but Moon Knight was cool.
I wonder if
Yeah.
they'd ever do Doc Samson from the Hulk. Well, they did it in the Ang Lee Hulk. I think somebody played Samson, but he didn't have the green hair.
The Ang Lee Hulk.
That's
Those Hulk
terrible.
movies were terrible.
Never saw that.
I was in a trade convention, and it was like, for work, and there was like this big after party going on, and I was like, I'm going up to my room to watch Hulk on pay-per-view. And when I came down the next day, they're like, oh yeah, that's the guy who left the party to go watch the Hulk. What a
They
weirdo.
knew you. They knew you.
I'd
Yeah,
also like to see them do Daredevil in the yellow suit.
Horrible choice.
Imagine the Netflix Daredevil in that.
So Armand, I want to ask you, how many? Do you know this number? How many books have you published?
Pull your mic a little closer.
Mine?
Yeah, there you go.
I'll put it. I'll fillet it. I'll put it right here,
Nice.
and I'll talk like NPR.
Chuck Buddha made me count one time, and I wrote it down, but I don't see it anymore. I have like 4,000 Post-its all over my desks.
I thought you were going to say 4,000 books.
No, not that. It's I always say 150 releases, but I think it's easily over 200 now.
Wow.
That's crazy. Like if you go to a con and he's there, you have like I love the racks that you have for your books because it's like going to the library, like because everyone else we just kind of like have a stand and we stack them up whatever. You've got like these metal racks and
Yeah, I got
it's like
racks and
oh
behind me, you see like the top shelf on this side, and then on the other side are all the this side is all the two shelves of all the anthologies I've been in that I've collected, and then on the other side is two shelves of all of the books that I've released or like just single author, either self-published or through a publisher.
right yeah it's absolutely incredible. Your output is anytime anyone says to me, man, you write a lot, I'm like, I'm an amateur next to this dude.
Do you ever put a label on yourself as far as genre goes?
No, when I started doing it, you're talking like 2009 or whatever, and I put Dying Days, the first zombie book out, and then everybody was calling me a zombie author, and I hated it. I was like, I don't want to be a zombie author. I just want to put one zombie book out, and then I ended up doing 9 books in that series, and and then I wanted to be like I always wanted to be a horror author. That was kind of the thing, and then when I started writing crime fiction and I started writing contemporary fiction and nonfiction and all this other stuff. So the goal would be to someday be like Joe Lansdale, and that's your genre. And I'll never write as good as Joe, let's be honest, but I want people to go, okay, that's an Armand Rosamilia book, when they read it.
Yeah, you know what? I've seen Joe do readings, and now if I read any book, his voice is in my head, which helps. Yeah. Which is not the case for most authors. Most authors, if you hear them do a reading, you go, oh, then it ruins it.
Jack, did you ever hear the story about when I did a reading with Hunter Shea?
I don't think I have.
So I hate doing readings. I absolutely hate them. And I was at Scares, and so I go and I sit down behind the desk and I do my 10 minutes, blah, 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 some stupid story. And then Hunter goes after me, and he does like the whole song and dance, and he's walking the crowd. Like he did like this really good thing. So I was like, all right, good. I can learn from him. So the following year at Scares, me and Hunter were paired again together. Well, Hunter didn't show.
Yep.
So the crowd comes in, and I say, joking around, I said, well, listen, it's just me. Hunter Shea could not be here. So, like, if anybody wants to leave, like, go ahead. And a couple actually got up on the front row and was like, what do you mean Hunter's not here? And then they walked out of the room.
That is messed up.
You can imagine, like, my ego. Like, they just walked out of the room. And I was, like, kind of stunned for a second. I was like, okay, I'll read this fucking stupid story now.
Yeah, never say that again.
Wow.
Yeah, so they've learned not to say that ever.
I hope they do Scares this year because I was scheduled to go back last year, finally, and, COVID happened. If they do it again this year, I am going to ask Brian to put us together.
No, I've already. That was the last time I did a reading. I was like, I'll do every panel you want. I'll even like run panels, but
right.
I've never been to that, but I would actually love to go and host a panel. Hunter and I were supposed to host a horror panel in Staten Island, and then boom, the COVID hit, and our big it was some kind of Comic-Con kind of thing.
Yeah,
to the birds.
Well, that's all right. You know what? Scares they care if they tell me to do a reading, and I always tell them I'll do a reading, but I'd never do a reading. So you can come on in, and we'll just do our own thing. Once they close the door, you can do whatever you want.
Pretty much, yeah.
Who cares?
Hunter and I, for him, I went with him once to like a Barnes & Noble in New York, and we did like In Search of the Montauk Monster instead of a reading.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so much better. I don't want to sit and watch a guy read his book.
Yeah.
No, we were talking about Nazis and Project Paperclip and secret societies. It was fun. But see, to me, it's like, whatever gets in the book, there's always a lot of stuff that doesn't get in.
Yeah.
So I'd rather talk about that stuff and then say, hey, if you like this, check out the really cool stuff that I had to put in the book.
It's funny though, you can tell, like, I worked with you, so I've been at trade shows with you. And so what you learned about pulling in customers for the trade show booth,
well,
you do at like cons now. Like Like everybody else is sitting at the booth waiting for somebody to stop, and you're out there like, "Hey, do you like sex? Then you'll like this book." You
Oh.
know?
Chuck Buddha has a story about me doing that. It was like at the end of this Connecticut Horror Fest, and there was a few people around, wasn't much, and I was like, "Want me to show you guys how to sell a book?"
Yeah, I was
Is that
there
when
for
you were
that.
really-
Grabbed these two girls.
Is that when you were really
and I was-
drunk? I've heard this story.
Oh, I was hammered. I work best when I'm drunk, by the way. And it was like in a 1-minute spiel, I had about 47 expletives. It all worked, and it was like they walked away stunned, holding these books, like, where did my money go?
I was there for that.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was fun. So you've done a lot of self-publishing successfully, I might add, quite successfully.
Thank you.
So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about tonight, and I know that you've done the Mondo Method podcast, and you and Chuck, you've talked a lot about, first of all, the Mondo Method. You all should listen to this. Every now and then, if I feel like I'm getting stuck with writing, I go Mondo Method time, which are these kind of sprints. Do a sprint, take a break, do a sprint, take a break, which really some of my most productive days are using that method, which I'm eternally grateful for that. What are some of the things you've probably seen it all and tried it all at this point? What are some of the things that have been most successful for you, self-publishing a book and getting it out there and just grabbing those sales?
You know, I think the first thing was the learning curve of knowing what my strengths and weaknesses were. When I first started, I was like, I'll edit myself. I'll do the cover myself. I'll format it myself. You know, you think, oh, I can do it all. And then you realize quickly, these books are awful. And, you know, I can't do all these things. So really, after you realize what you can do, and for me, it's writing. I could do the basic formatting, but I'm awful with doing covers. I need somebody to edit my stuff. And, like the promoting and stuff is always most of my time. Right. So like you said, the Mondo Method. So the Mondo Method is basically I write for the first 15 minutes of every hour. And I can get about 600 words is usually about my average. Because I know that there's a time at 10:15, 11:15, whatever it is, stop writing, walk away from it, go get a cup of coffee, go to the bathroom, go do some promoting, whatever else. And I actually have like a list of what I'm going to do in those, in those times, because I need that instead of just kind of writing. So I've learned that I'm doing 3 sprints a day. So it's like 45 minutes of a 10-hour, 12-hour day is the actual writing. So the rest of it is the promotion. The rest of it is Amazon ads. The rest of it is answering emails, recording my podcasts, coming on other people's podcasts, doing all the other stuff. And new authors, and I mentor a lot of people, and I really enjoy that because I'm also learning stuff. But one of the things I always say to them is just write. Just as long as you can write, just write and have fun doing it. Because at some point, as you know, it's a job. It's, this pays my portion of the bills. So this is my 9th year, I think my 9th year of being a full-time author and being able to live off of this money. But I'm working more hours now than I've ever worked because of it. But I love it. I love every minute of it.
Yeah, and I think that equation, when you're talking about out of 10 hours, you've written for 45 minutes. Like, people don't realize how much work you have to do to promote. Because nobody, even if you're published by a traditional publisher, they don't really do much in the way of promotion. Right. It's up to you to build that platform and keep that word out. And there aren't many people I know who do it as well as you do.
I appreciate that.
I mean, seriously, normally I'd crap all over you, but I'm not tonight. I'm feeling love for you.
Feel
tonight.
Good.
I'm impressed.
The show you're on was born because I said to him, "Hey, we should start a YouTube show to help get you out there as an author."
Yeah, literally.
And I mean, and that's what it is. I always say, no matter what the podcast is. I mean, I've been on some weird podcasts that on paper does not even fit. There's why am I on a one about wealth or one about stocks or whatever. But I've been on those. I've been on I've been on tons of them. I mean, I've been on a lot of podcasts that talk about horror movies, and I don't watch horror movies.
Yeah, this is my only qualm with you, sir. How dare you? How dare you write zombie stuff and not watch horror movies?
I think the last horror movie I probably saw was probably the Dawn of the Dead remake. I think was the last.
Wow.
Good golly.
Yeah.
Jack, what is that? 2007? That's a while ago.
Yeah, it's quite a while ago.
It's been a long time. Yeah.
It's amazing. You don't watch horror movies, but then you can write Frozen in Ice, which I'm going to tell everybody is one of the best books ever written. Just going to put it out there right now.
Oh, well, if I can quote somebody, someone said about me, "Motherfucker knows how to write." I wrote that down.
Put that on a T-shirt.
That was a Hunter Shea quote from your other podcast.
We're straight shooters.
I had to write that down.
I try to be as eloquent as possible when I'm promoting somebody.
That was, that is definitely going to be the. So what's funny is in the book. So it's a total. I mean, basically, I pitched it to Severed Press and said, I'm going to basically rewrite the Thing, but it's going to be in the South Pole, and they were like, "Yeah, go for it," and because that's what it is. You want that cheesy. I mean, I love Severed Press books. As you know, you've written a ton of them. I mean, it's just let's just write a fun monster story. So that's what it was. But I was coming up with characters for it, and I was interviewing another author on Armcast podcast, and you were brought up. But I guess because they had only seen your name written, so they said Hunter Shea.
Oh, I've gotten that a bunch of times.
And I was like, no, Shea, like Shea Stadium, like that's kind of obvious. I guess you're not a baseball fan,
Shea Butter.
So
Shea.
I was like Shea. So when I was creating characters, I'm like, I need this like reality guy, who goes around and searches for Bigfoot and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I'll name him. So I named it Hunter Shea, which I thought was pretty funny.
How did you spell it?
Shaya, Shea. Literally.
I was laughing out loud when I saw that. And you know what? Now fiction's becoming reality because now I have been on TV talking about the Dover.
I know.
There we go.
Very exciting. I was quite proud to go. I know that guy.
Yeah, that was a weird experience. One of these days I'll talk about it. Nothing like doing a recording in a cramped motel room during coronavirus.
Yeah, that had to be a little odd.
It was bizarre, but that was cool. So you mentioned Amazon ads, and I haven't done these yet. Is for advertising, like Jason Brandt, jerk that he is, like he's the opposite of you, right? So he's writing full time.
He's not good looking. He's not in shape.
He's not a good writer.
Not a good writer. Let's be honest.
Couldn't grow a mustache to save his life. But he mainly focuses on advertising. Like you won't hear him on podcasts much, and he doesn't do blogs and stuff like that. He doesn't give a shit. So he's about advertising. What's the advertising like? Your money. If your money, where do you want to put your money where you get the most bang for your buck?
I do a lot of. I'll do sales, for instance. Like I'll take maybe a month. Like so, for February, the first Dying Days book is 99 cents. And so then I'll do I'll try for a BookBub ad, but then I'll do I literally have like a 5-page list of Free Booksy and Book Circle and, Book Sends and Book Reads and Book This and Book That. And they do like those, those daily, say $20, $25, but I'll layer them. I'll stack 3 or 4 ads every day. Oh, wow. And then I'll do say 4 ads and I'll do 3 ads and 2 ads and then 1 ad. And then I'll go like 1 or 2 days without to let the ads catch up. And then I'll start building it up again. I have like this whole little system that I use to do that. And then on top of that, I'll do Facebook ads and I'm spending $5 a day on Facebook ads and I'm doing like Amazon ads that might be like $10 a day or something like that. So I'm literally, there's guys out there like Dan Padavona is amazing with the advertising. I mean, he just freaking kills it. And his books are great, which also is great. But I mean, I want to get to that point where I want to be at the point where I'm spending $5,000 a month on advertising because I'm making $7,000 or $8,000.
Right.
You know, and I'm not there yet, but I'm spending. You know, me and my wife sat down and we kind of came up with like a $500 a month advertising budget for my books. So now one of my books, Dirty Deeds, which is a crime thriller book, that's a Kindle Press book. So they control it. They do the advertising and stuff, which is great because Amazon. I have Amazon behind me,
Right.
so that book sells a lot of books. But I can't control when it's on sale or not. So like it was all of January that was on sale at 99 cents, which is great. So I sold a ton of them, but I also spent a lot of money on the advertising. And now I'll see the the sell through on book 2 to 8 as well, and I'll keep track of that.
Right.
And so like that to me that's important too. Like, you know, Dying Days is 9 books complete, but I want that sell through rate of, I think it's like 73 or 74% from book 1 to book 9. And that's a really good, that means, you know, 3 out of 4 people basically are reading the entire series as long as they start on that first one.
Right.
So my thing is not to sell book 2 to 9, but to sell book 1, and that's what I always concentrate. So I'm always running sales or different things on those. And then, you know, the ads are tough. It's a lot of work. It's probably 2 hours a day on certain weeks, especially if I have like you know, a sale that's coming up or something. So it again, you know, 45 minutes a day is writing, and you know, 9 hours a day sometimes is doing advertising.
Wow. So when you're signing up for like, because I think I did a free Booksy once before. Can you tell them when to run the ad? Can you kind of like say, hey, here's my timing for this?
Yeah. They all have usually they all have calendars, so they'll have what days are open, and I'll just basically like on the one side of my planner, I'll have all of my sales I know are coming up for next month, and I'll write down which days they are and how much they are, and then I just start filling that in with free Booksy or whatever. And then, you know, you're always chasing BookBub.
Yeah.
I got a BookBub, a UK only BookBub for the first Belford story, which is contemporary fiction set in Jersey. And it was 99 cents, but only UK on Christmas Day.
Wow. Very specific.
I was like, you know, how is it? This is either I'm gonna make I think it was like $200. I'm gonna make my 200 back is all I'm hoping for, but I think I tripled the money on that one. So it actually sold really well, but then it also sold really well in the U.S. as well because of the UK sales, it moved up in the algorithms here.
Right. Oh, that's you know what? I didn't even think of that. That's true. BookBub, by the way, is magical. I wish there were like 10 BookBubs out there that all work the same.
Yeah.
You know, the sad thing is there's only one, and now we all know what's out there. So it's hard to get in there now.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that get in all the time that do really well with it, and I literally if I send one in today in 2 days or 3 days for now it's rejected, I send them another one, and I send them another one. I'm spending like 10 or 12 a month. I literally have a list of when's the last time I sent it, and is it a 99-cent book? Is it a free book? I mean, it's just.
Right.
Again, it's, you know, you got to keep track of all that stuff.
Let me ask you something, both of you. What about something like Goodreads? Is there value to that platform? Like when I read any one of your books, I'll tweet it and I'll put it on Goodreads because I want you guys to get some visibility. But do you guys find that's a place where you get traction?
Goodreads is tough. I wish they would redesign that website. It's awful. It is absolutely awful. I've tried things on Goodreads. I've done like, you know, do like these announcements and certain things. They don't have paid advertising there, do they?
Yeah, you can do giveaways.
I've done giveaways in the past, and I don't know. I've done it, and I'm like, I don't know if this is worth it. And Goodreads is too annoying for me to work with, like just physically.
As a user, it's not easy for me to go see what other people are reading, but I'm also not somebody that's going around and following people and spending a lot of time on it. But when I do get in there, it seems like it's a little bit of work to find. But once I do get in there are times where I'll look at like your red pile and go, oh, that looks pretty good. But I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's so Goodreads is tough. Like I'm on there, like I've done giveaways, like the new book, the short story collection, Make Pretend. I did like a giveaway I gave away 100 copies, ebook copies of it. And the good thing was like 2,800 people or something tried to win. So you automatically add it to their whatever it's called, want to read or a list. So it's out there. So it's gotten me some traction that way, but I'm not seeing a ton of sales necessarily from it is the problem. So, and I never see what the thing I don't like about Goodreads is you can review something by just giving it a star rating and there's no review. And that drives
I do that all the time.
Yeah, well, you're a jerk. That drives me nuts. So like if I do and I read like 82 books last year and I reviewed every one of them, but I review them on Amazon and then I copy paste to Goodreads and BookBub. So I have the review on all three and just to help people. But yeah, that, you look and you go, oh, I got a 1-star review or I got a 5-star review, but why? Like, what did you hate about it? What did you like about it? And how does that help other readers? It's like, Jack, you're going on to find a book and you might, on Amazon, you're going through and you're reading some reviews and you're going, oh, this sounds pretty good. But on there, you're going, oh, well, there's a 5-star and a 1-star. So
there's the two extremes are the review with just stars and no commentary, or the 45 paragraph in-depth thing. And I'm like, okay, I like take my tweet and I put it in because I'm like, people just want to know what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, whatever. There's a synopsis right above this. They don't need me to retell it.
Yeah. In general, if I do write a review, it's 5 sentences at most. Like, I've set that limit for myself. Because even when I read reviews, I'm like, once you 5 sentences pass, I've lost interest.
Right. I mean, I'm not going to tell you this. I'm not going to give you the synopsis of the story, which you see a lot of it. A lot of times, I'm not going to give you spoilers. And like I might point out, like if I read an anthology, I might point out, hey, I really like the stories by this one and this one, but I never say, oh, I hated this one, or if it gets to the point where I'm like, oh, I there was one story here I could not even finish. I just wasn't a fan of it, but I'm not going to tell you that was a Hunter Shea story. I'm just gonna.
The killer was my book Slash that had a really big twist in it. I read so many reviews that in the first sentence or the subject gave the twist away. Yeah. I was like, you son of a bitch.
I literally stopped reading reviews about 3 years ago. Because the reviews aren't for us, the reviews are for readers. Or for the fans. And they would drive me nuts. Like like on Frozen in Ice, there's some I made a couple of really dumb mistakes in there about the setting. And somebody's like, every review is pointing out, I won't say what it is, but and I'm like, all right, whatever. Well, they bought the book and they're not all just 1-star reviews and whatever. It's a fun, goofy, it makes no sense. You mean it's an alien crashing?
Yeah.
That makes sense to you?
Did you ever hear Bill Burr recently talking to Jimmy Fallon, and Jimmy's like, hey, I heard some people have a problem with you on The Mandalorian having a Boston accent. And he goes, oh, but they don't have a problem with people in space speaking English? Or how come C-3PO can have an English accent and that's okay, but you can't have a Boston accent?
Yeah.
My favorite thing is when they go, hey, I found this typo on page 76. Yeah. I'm like, are you going to do anything about that? No.
Recall.
I can't do anything about that. It's done.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you something along those lines, and not as far as editing goes, but let's say I write a book. Now, I've got a good friend here who he can read it and tell me why it sucks. But
you should write because you are a good writer.
I'm working on something. But you get to that point where you've got your draft or whatever. With self-publishing, and whether I'm writing a horror story or a business book or whatever, where do you go to have somebody read that to tell you, like, you guys have your editor or whatever, be like, this sucks, cut this out, whatever. and it may be hard to hear, but the notes you get back can be useful. So where does the self-publisher go to get that kind of stuff?
I have a really good group of beta readers. That's my first line of defense. And I always say, don't tell me what you like about the book. I want you to like the book. I want you to like every word in the book. But for me, I want you to tell me what's the crap in it. What doesn't make sense? What took you out of the book? Because I would rather those 3 or 4 people did it rather than the potential thousands of readers down the line that are gonna do that. So, and I also like 3 or 4 people to read it because, and not authors. I never ask authors to read it. I always ask readers to read it, because an author will want to change it. They'll want to put their voice in it. They'll say, well, this is a better idea. And well, then you go write that book. But for me, it's once I get that feedback, I don't look at any of it until I get all the feedback, and I'll literally go page by page, chapter by chapter. And of course, they're going to find some typos, and of course, they're going to have some questions. But I want to see. A lot of times, 2 will catch it, and the other one won't. They'll catch something different, and you want to have beta readers that one of them is like an English major and finds all the sentence structure stuff. And then you want that person who is really good. Like my wife is really good with anything like any problems with, hey, in this chapter she's wearing jeans, and now in this chapter she's wearing cargo shorts or whatever. Like the continuity errors, she's really good with.
That's a skill. My sister has that, but she's too busy, can't help me anymore.
And so like you got to find those different people, and I have a group of people, and it's always evolving, it's always changing. There's new people that are coming and going, and so for me that's important. And then I'll give it to my editor. If I do self-publishing, I always use a girl, Jenny, and I've known her for years, and she's really good. She's actually was an English professor, and she'll hit me with stuff. So like the short story collection is called Make Pretend. Because I would say, I said it since I was a little kid, make pretend instead of pretend. And she would nail me. She would say, if this was a drinking game, like for whatever reason in every story, you say make pretend. It's just pretend, A
lot of people say that, though.
Yeah. So we would kind of joke about that. So when I was putting the short story collection together, I was like, you know what? It's got to be called Make Pretend, just because it's funny. But she catches that. And when you work with a really good editor, a lot of times as I'm writing that first draft, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to let it go. I know she'll catch this, and I'm moving on. Or I'll say, don't say that so many times, because she's going to kill me on that.
Do you find that with different books, you come up with a different yip? Like, I had a book where I kept putting the word "so" in, and I didn't notice it at all. And Don Dario was like, "There's like 75 so's in here." It's like, and none of them make sense. He goes, none of them. I'm like, I did? And like, I cured myself of that. And then the next book, it's another yip that comes. It's like every book has a yip.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is.
And it's a weird, so I'll write like 4 or 5 things at once. So I'm not just working on one story. Like I like on my board is like, right now there's like 15 open projects. And crazy. So it's funny as I'm writing, because like that, all of a sudden for a straight week, in like 8 different stories I'm writing, there's like a bunch of so's in that, or make pretends or whatever. So it kind of goes across the board as some, like you could almost look at, like you can almost someday there will be students. Obviously there will be a college course on my writing, and students will be writing thesis papers on. Well, this was, he said, make pretend from 2019, August 2019 to January 2021. This is when he was in this frame of mind, kind of thing.
Your make pretend phase.
This is my make pretend phase, right?
I can't imagine writing so many at once. Like I did at one point, I was writing 2 books at the same time. I was writing Loch Ness Revenge in the morning, which was first person from a woman's point of view. And then I was doing Just Add Water, my killer sea monkey story, in the afternoons, which was third person, mostly from the point of view of some boys. I cannot tell you how many times I screwed up all the tenses and everything in both those books. Like when I was done, I was like, was I high? Like I was mixing everything. I had to completely rewrite both of them when I was done.
See, doing the Mondo method sprints though, that really helps me because at 10 o'clock to 10:15, I'm writing a certain book,
Right.
and then I'll either go, you know what, in that 45 minutes while I'm doing other stuff, I'm thinking about either what's coming next in that book, or I'm like, well, I really got like Severed really needs this book, in the next 2 weeks, so I got to get going on it, and so I'm able to jump around, and I'm totally pantsing everything as well.
Yes.
So,
You share something with Jason Brandt. You're a pantser.
no, God, I'm gonna start doing outlines.
Me too. I don't do outlines either. If it's
Oh, okay. That made me think of something else. I finally sit down to write the idea I have in my head. I've got basically a few scenes in my head and some idea of where it might go, but who knows. But then when I read reviews or commentaries on literature, there's always like, well, the theme was forgiveness or grief or the relationship between brothers. Is that kind of thing something you think about before you start writing a book, or is that just it happens and then you go, oh, this is a zombie book that also happens to be about consumerism or whatever?
I just did an interview with Jennifer Gordon for Armcast podcast, and we actually talked about that, about the themes and stuff, and we both agreed that in first draft you're just throwing it up, you're just getting it out there. And I write a pretty clean first draft. I normally only go maybe 2 or 3 drafts, but the beta readers a lot of times will find those themes, or they'll ask me about them, and of course then you go, well, that's yes, that's definitely what it is, and then you kind of punch it up, and so you look smart. So when that book comes out, you're like, that's about pollution, and that's about childbirth, and oh my God, this is the characters on abortion or whatever. But in reality, I'm just writing a damn book, and characters are interacting with each other. Very few times am I writing a short story or a novel or a novella where I go, okay, this is kind of the overarching theme of this. It's usually just, it starts with character. It's characters. How would they react if something happened, or how would they react with each other? And if it turns out that I'm putting, a hunter in a group with a vegan, obviously there's going to be the conflict there. And off the top of my head, I don't know who's right and who's wrong, or if it really even matters or anything. But then somebody down the line will start going, oh, you're talking about, this is, the world is dying because of this and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, I guess I'll add a little bit of that in there, and we'll.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks.
Thanks for the idea.
Yeah, theme just kind of, it's maybe it's in our subconscious. Maybe. I don't even think half the time it's even there. I don't know. Just trying to get the words out.
Well, there's another question for you then. Does every book have a theme? I don't think hunters do.
No, well, for me, and Hunter, I think would agree. I'm more of a pulp fiction writer. I want to just tell a fun story and have characters fight or kill each other. And I think that, to me, is more important than trying to write this big literary classic thing. It's the old, college professor when he's, they're going over the thing, and he says, what are the blue curtains mean in this story? And they start talking about, it's blue because the character's blue and blah, 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 blah. And then you get down to the end, and the author says, I wrote it because the curtains are fucking blue. That's all it means. Because I picked a random color. And sometimes you get that where you read guys and girls who write some pretty damn books. Like, I've read some really great books with some really great themes and ideas and stuff. And I always say to myself, I will never write like Stephen Graham Jones. You know what I mean? I'm never going to write a book like that. I'm never going to write, Mexican Gothic. It's a great book, and it has so many different layers and themes and stuff. Or Lovecraft Country, the book. There's so much to that, but I don't want to write like that. I don't want to fake through that. I don't want to do that. That's not me as a writer. So I would rather a couple people beat each other up for 100, 200 pages, and hopefully people will buy the damn thing.
Exactly.
Do you ever put hidden meaning into it. Like when you watch that documentary about The Shining, where they're like, well, the rocket ship on the sweater was about the moon landing, and this was American Indian. A lot of that's BS anyway. Some of it might be true, but there's different things you hear about, like, oh, well, the reason it's three is because it was the Trinity or whatever. You guys ever put that kind of stuff in your books, like symbolism and meaning?
Now, what I'll put in my books is I will put names, like obscure names of horror people in horror movies, or the characters, or like They Rise, my first sea monster book for Severed. Every character just about was named after somebody that was in Creature from the Black Lagoon. The ships were morphed to the ships and the Creature and Return of the Creature. That kind of stuff I do, but hidden meanings, nah.
I had a character named Hunter Shea.
Yeah. His meaning was, Jesus Christ, you're in for a ride.
I'll like put in Easter eggs to other books. So like I'll go back and
Yes.
again it's kind of that thing where I'm making myself a lot smarter than I am, because after so many books I'm like, oh, these are like, it's all in the same world, and I'll have characters from one book mentioned in another book, or something that happened in that book, and readers will pick up on that and they'll go, oh, the serial killer you mentioned in the first Keep Word Cthulhu is actually from Chelsea Avenue series, and blah blah, like those kinds of things.
Right.
And I do that for fun, to see if anybody will pick up on it.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of times it's for my own personal. I need a character, and I'm like, I'm lazy. I don't want to create a whole new character. I'll just, and this character is kind of the same idea, and I'll just throw this character in there somewhere.
Right.
Now, I also noticed that in a couple of books I've read by people sort of in this little community we have of podcasters and authors, I've read some books, and so occasionally there's a character who's not necessarily a horror fan or a goth person, or just sort of a normal person, but somewhere in the book they will make reference to something like The Thing or Halloween or something, and they'll put a little line about what the movie was about and how much they love it. And I there's a little part of me sometimes where I'm like, that doesn't ring true to the character. That's the author just giving a shout out to the.
Yeah. They just picked the wrong character to do the shout out.
Right. And it's one of those things, I'm sure, where they were like, for me, it's important to have that in my book. But maybe, obviously, it didn't work for you if it was the right character. Like I just did, when I did for Severed Press, I did The Beast, the Bigfoot thriller. Mm-hmm. And that one it's based on an actual, cryptid from New Jersey, where I grew up in Middletown, New Jersey. And of course, in there I have Frank, Chuck, and Tim are the three the three guys. Because I'm like, again, I'm Pulp Fiction. This is going to be a 30,000 word fun, Bigfoot's going to rip people apart kind of story. There's not a ton of backstory or anything. Right. And then I also, in the last one I just wrote for them, Abandoned, which is set on Forbidden Island off of the coast of Nagasaki, Battleship Island. And in there is a Frank, but it's like a Frank Meyer, like Chuck Edler and Tim Buddha or whatever. So
that's awesome.
Again, it's the three of them kind of in there. So I have fun, because then for me, like writing the Hunter Shea character, I already have an idea of who that person is. I already know all the bad things about them, and all the awful things that are probably going through their head. So it's easy for me to write that character and have fun with it.
Yeah, and it's when you're writing about your friends and putting them in, you get like you look forward to writing those characters sometimes. Yeah. More than any of the other characters. It's a giggle.
So
while you're doing it.
Here's another one for you, Armand. Hunter and I go back a long way. We're pretty tight. So I've read a lot of his books, and we're all the same interests and stuff. So a lot of his books are just romps, a lot of fun. But then every once in a while he comes out with something like Creature. And because I have such history with him, I'm reading this and I'm going, holy crap, he's like laying it out there. Like there's some really personal stuff. And he's got a couple of books like that. The Waiting's got some true life stuff going on. Do you have anything like that where you're like, wow, I really bared my soul in this one, or are you like you keep that kind of off the page?
I think it definitely leaks in. My wife will beta read stuff, and she'll laugh and she'll go, "I remember this conversation," or "I remember this awful thing happening," or "You've told me about this."
Right.
My Dirty Deeds, the crime thriller series. Whenever anybody reads it, they're like, "Oh my God, this is 100% you. It's your humor, it's your weaknesses, it's you're a middle-aged, overweight guy who eats way too much, drinks way too much coffee, and is really out of shape, and is kind of sarcastic and an asshole." and a lot of that is definitely, I've kind of, after the first couple books, I kind of embrace it, and I'm like, you know
Right.
what, this is, why fight it? This character is a lot of me, so let me channel that, and it leads to some really, I've written stories about like being bullied. There's a couple of short stories, in fact, in the short story collection. There's one short story called Louisville Slugger, and it's basically it's more or less about being bullied. It was basically, that's when I sat down to write that, and obviously that's from a very personal, from me growing up and going through elementary school and especially junior high and getting my ass kicked all the time.
Right.
So I channel that stuff, and I don't know if it's cathartic. I don't know if it necessarily helps me, but it's genuine emotion that I can tap from my past.
Right.
I always joke, and I always say, I've been divorced twice, and I always say I've killed those two bitches 100 times now in stories. And it's great. It's like that easy. Oh, I need an asshole, a female character here. Okay, which one should I choose? And a lot of that stuff in there is actual conversations or things that have happened to me, where somebody might read it and go, "Well, this is fiction," but I'm like, no, that's not really fiction.
Yeah. The stranger it seems, the more likely it's real.
Yeah.
So your new your anthology, Make Pretend, since you do genre hopping, is this a grab bag of everything, or is there a theme?
I know there might be. It's obviously a lot of horror, because that's what I've mostly written. But then there's also crime thriller. There's also contemporary fiction. There's some science fiction in there. There's a couple of different fantasy stories. So it runs the gamut of a lot of different things over the years. And one of the stories is 40 years old. I was 10 years old, so it's something that I wrote. Wow. My mother actually found the zine that it was in, more or less like the school had put it out. So I had to type it in without changing anything, because I was like, well, this is 10-year-old me. I want to keep it.
This is bold.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's like literally it's the start. It's the beginning. Right. So I put that in, but then there's stories that I wrote literally as I was putting the collection together. I'm like, you know what? I need another horror story, or I need something else. And I had a couple of ideas. It was kind of like being a band and going into the studio to record, and the producer going, "We need one more song." So you just kind of write it on the fly and put it in there.
Wow. It's making me think I should take all the short stories when I was first starting that were published in e-zines and put them together and call it "This Book Sucks." That might be a perfect title. Or "Don't buy this turd."
It was so there's 21 stories in that collection, and at first I was like, well, I'll just find like 15 or 20 stories, and I realized I have like over 300 short stories, and some of them have never been published, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
And some of them have been rejected like dozens of times and stuff. So as I was going through, like a lot of them, I was like, I don't even remember this. Like I don't even remember this story. And then there was some of them I read, and I was like, oh my God, why did this never sell? Because this story, I think, is pretty good. So I try to do a mix, and I'm like, all right, well, I can do. Then that's when I called it Volume 1, because I'm like, I could do like 10 of these without a problem, and just basically, and I mean, eventually maybe I will, who knows? But and obviously I'm writing more stories.
Right.
So every month I write a new story for my Patreon. So a lot of those stories ended up in it as well.
Do you
That's
guys
awesome.
plan to write something that's a short story or a novella or a full blown book, or does it just happen?
I'm at the plan everything point. Like I can't just go in just going, oh, I don't know what the hell. Only because I have obligations. It's like
Yeah.
I know that I got to do a short story here, novella here, novel here.
Yeah.
I wish I had more time because I got a day job that just sucks the life
So
out
this
of me.
is where
So-
like you go for recreational writers to you guys who are doing it as a vocation to some degree.
Mhm.
Is because for me, I'm going to sit down and go, where are we going today with this? Because there's no pressure on me.
Right, and that's
Yeah.
the great part. It's I'll use the band analogy. You have as many years as you want to write as many songs as you want and test them in a club, and all that, and then you've picked the 10 best songs back in the day, and you put out an album, and then from that point on, you're on the clock. You have 10 months or 11 months to write 10 more great songs for that second album. And that's kind of where me and Hunter are of, I know I have 15 projects up here. Some of them have already been paid for. Some of them already have deadlines. And there's nothing up there that's, I just feel like writing a short story. Or I feel like writing something.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what my Patreon is. It's the release to let me write those short stories, but with the idea that eventually they'll be in a short story collection. And some of them might be rejections from anthologies. I was in a lot of anthologies last year. And so obviously not everything got accepted. So a handful of those stories I'll use for Patreon stuff.
Yeah. I did a 2.5 years writing a cryptid story on Patreon, which when it finished, it's the biggest book I've ever written. I just finished it like a few weeks ago. So, and I'm gonna put that out, but I'm going to the short story route now, because I'm one of your patrons, so I'm like, yeah, I should maybe do what he's doing, because 2.5 years into writing a book, I'm like, I don't even remember where this damn thing started.
Yeah, well, and that's my problem too. Like, one of them is about to end. It's like a crime thriller, but it's a chapter 50, but it's only one chapter a month. So that thing's been going for 4 years now on my Patreon.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
so
and
at
it's like-
that point, when you finish it, I'm like, I don't even know what to do with this now.
Yeah, continuity is going to be
Yeah.
a bitch with that one.
Right. Yeah.
All right, here's another self-publishing question. Let's say I write a book, whatever the topic is. How does that go from, okay, I wrote a book, to now it's an actual book? Or when you self-publish, is it more now ebooks? Or like, how do you get the actual book made?
Well, if you're doing self-publishing, I do everything through what used to be CreateSpace and now is just KDP for Amazon. But then I use also some of my books are on Lightning Spark. I used to use Lulu back in the day.
Oh, Lulu.
Remember Lulu?
I used to
Yeah.
always thought of the honeymooners whenever I
Yeah.
heard of that.
So I mean, there's a ton of different.
And those are
ways.
services that'll like print your book for you?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You format it, get it in a PDF, get a cover, and then they do the rest.
Yeah.
It's really simple.
So it's like the T-Public of books. Like, here it is printed for me.
Pretty much,
Yeah,
they charge
but-
you. Then you is it like T-Public where they print them and send them out for you, or is it they send you a box and you have to mail them out to people?
No, so like anything that I'm putting self-published, I'm just uploading it to Amazon and setting the price and everything else. So here's a book, it might be $12.99 for print, and I'm making $3 or $4, whatever the percentage comes down to.
Then does Amazon go to that vendor that is printing the book for you to
Well,
get
it's all print on demand. So, like when you're ordering a book, an indie book, that book might be as me and Hunter when I like to Make Pretend comes out and I need 25 copies for a book signing. So I just go there and I just go into my account and I order it at whatever the cost is. It's $3, $4, whatever it would be. And then some printer in South Carolina usually is just basically gets that, and they print it out, and they just basically put it in an Amazon box and mail it to me.
Okay, that's what I was.
So it's all
at.
print on demand. It's not like your books are sitting in a warehouse somewhere.
So that's it.
Yeah.
Like the vendor sending it in an Amazon box.
Right.
That's where I
Yeah.
was wondering. Like I thought,
Yeah.
does this get sent to an Amazon factory or warehouse and then go out?
No.
So you're
Like
saying
if you're the new Stephen King book or the new Dean Koontz book is coming out, yeah, those are in a warehouse in boxes on a shelf. But otherwise, the rest of us schlubs,
right. So it actually is a lot like TeePublic.
is.
They make it, they mail it out.
Same idea. Yep.
It's simplicity at its best, and it's also the worst thing possible for people like us, because it's also easy for anybody who doesn't even know how to put a sentence together, but manages to throw a bunch of words like just word diarrhea on a page, and it gets out there.
Well,
So you're
because
competing against that all the time. You're trying to like swim through the muck.
just from a personal branding standpoint, even if you're not an author, like if I'm a social media marketer, it makes sense to me to write a thin book, 50, 75, 100 page, 200 page thing, whatever, that doesn't have to be all that original. But if I have a book that I say I wrote, my brand goes up. I'm a little more legit.
Oh yeah, you become an expert. Now you
Right.
can get on podcasts. Now you can do speaking engagements and stuff because you have the book, because you're the expert.
Right. Even though you probably had that book ghostwritten by somebody else.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I've read so many books where they're just saying the same thing. It's practically plagiarism. It's like the same market. Here's the 5 things you should do in marketing, and then
Right.
somebody else just basically took it, rearranged them, changed the names a little bit, and
Oh yeah. Look, those secrets. There's no more secrets left and stuff like that. So look, we're gonna let you go. It's getting late. I know down there in Florida, it's probably time to feed the alligators or whatever you guys do down there. Take the alligator out, honey. Put him out for the night. Where can folks find you and your books, especially Make Pretend?
Obviously on Amazon, everything's on Amazon. You could also go to armandrosamilia.com, and I am very active on Twitter at Armand Author. You can
Yes.
come and play with me over there.
And also his podcast, Armcast Podcast. We're both part of Project Entertainment Network. Mighty Pen. Who also Chad Lutsky's part of this too, and I don't know. I think it's dragging down the whole network. But
Sometimes you
let's
make mistakes.
yeah, whatever. I don't know why we've taken to just like dumping on Chad now, but it's fun.
Yeah, I love Chad.
Like Chad and Tim Meyer can take it like nobody's business.
Yeah, it's probably the hair.
They're so amiable. And yeah, it probably is the hair. It's protecting them. It's like tin foil. It protects you from the aliens.
Right.
Lutsky gets a little bit too, though, because he's a chill dude, but he's not afraid to interject his opinion in things.
That's right.
That is true. Yeah.
Well, thank you for finally being on the show.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Like I said, this is my fault. I honestly thought you were on about 4 years ago.
I've been waiting a long time for this, so thank
Wow,
you.
I
It's good to
know.
finally
Wait,
talk to you.
finally meet Jack.
Yes. So hopefully we can all get vaccinated and all meet sometime this summer. Hopefully you're going to do your brew tour.
We were looking at we were actually looking at September before everything to do it a little bit later in the year.
Yeah.
So hopefully that might still be a thing. But I'm hoping we all can hang out at Scares That Care.
Hell yeah. Party. It's going to be, I just keep saying, when everything's done, it's going to be a 5-year orgy.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Complete
a lot of
5 year.
fun.
I'm growing a mustache for it.
Dude. I'm going to get my mullet back. All right. Well, thanks for being on the show, and you are welcome anytime, my friend.
All right, I'll see you guys next week then.
You got it.
Sounds good. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. See you next time on
Monster Man.